This is part 2 of chapter 30 of The Last Quintista by Donna Barbahiguara. So, now they're probably going to die because the toxin is coming towards them. Maybe the wind is going to carry it towards them. And I have a question. Did you think that they were going to die? Or, because this is a children's book, did you think that they were going to live? Well, just because it's a children's book does not mean that, they necessarily live. But yeah, I did have some hope. I hope that there was some other reason for it. And I have a question. This place, this new place. I'm gonna call it a new place, okay? Because I don't want to call it Sagan. I just want to call it a new place. Let's say that you go to a new place and it's just like Sagan, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be a new planet. It can be maybe somewhere in your backyard. And you've never explored it before. Now, would you want to settle that place? Remember, the sun is smaller and maybe a little weaker than our sun, and things are different there. But would you like to live there or not? I think I would like a house that's half in Sagan and half on Earth. That would be really cool. Now, I thought that this was really cool. I want to read this paragraph. I glanced up at the canopy of elephant ear leaves. Somehow, the shelter of the grove feels like we're hiding under the covers in our beds. But just like hiding under covers, if something bad wants to get you, the sheets will offer no real protection. So here I wanted to ask you, have you ever crawled under your sheets in fear? And why? Why would you do that? Why did you crawl under your sheets? And another thing is, do you think that this place is a really, really good, a very good place to sustain life? Because all of these other animals are living in it. But what I'm saying is, do you think that this place is do you think that it's an amazing place? And do you think that there's actually another place like Earth somewhere in the universe? And remember, the universe is always expanding, and it's really, really, really large. So those are a few things I can think about. And if you are advanced in astronomy, then you're gonna know more about space. Like me, I'm interested in astronomy. So Rubio is like, should we try to, maybe contact the collective? But so Suma's like, no way. And you see here that Rubio really fears Chancellor Nyla. He's afraid of some bad thing happening to him. And do you think that Rubio, if Chancellor Nyla had never existed, if Suma had said the same things to him, do you think that he would have reacted that way? No, I don't think that he would have reacted that way. And so we have this environment where everybody listens to one person, and that one person controls everybody. Now, if that was a good person, this would be a good system. But as we see in the book, that's not the case. And Rubio, he follows the Chancellor. He follows Chancellor Nyla. But this is a thought experiment that we can do. Let's say that Petra is Chancellor Nyla. I mean, she doesn't lead anything, but if Petra were in control of everybody, do you think that in the end she'll be overcome by greed and evil, or do you think that she would try to make the place as good as possible? And what about you? Do you think that you'll be overcome by greed or evil, or do you think that you would just, try to lead the best government possible and make sure that everybody lives happily ever after? Well, I think I like the idea of a democracy very well, so I think that I will make a democracy. But one thing I don't want to do is make political parties, because political parties just make everything complicated. Of course, everybody's going to have different views, but still, no political parties. Maybe just, I don't know, like maybe people can still argue for the things that they want. They can still say, I want this, and I want you guys to do something about it. Then that's it. And yeah, it's a complete democracy. But political parties in general, I think, are just a little too complicated. Maybe once we get onto the planet, then it's going to be okay. But for the while, everybody tries to stay in the same party. Everybody tries to agree with each other, and other disputes can be settled in some other place, but like no real political parties. Still, that doesn't mean that it's illegal to band together. If you want to form groups of people who believe in something like a club or something else, that's perfectly fine. And yeah, I will make sure that all of the resources are distributed fairly. But really, you can't really make a real actual government on a ship. But still, I will make sure that everybody got all of the resources. I will make sure that everybody will get the attention and, everything that they need, basically. And I will make sure that everything on the ship will be just awesome because that will be the best for everybody. What about you? How would you make the collective, not the collective, how would you make the ship? And do you think that the risk of maybe electing a good leader to control everybody is big? Or do you think that a democracy is better? Like what's the better option? Like a really, really amazing, awesome, good person to control everybody versus a democracy where, maybe a few, maybe not the best people can also be part of things like voting. So, if you have been Suma and you learned about the toxin, or if you have been anybody else and you didn't know about the toxin and then suddenly knew about the toxin, do you think that you would just have a heart attack, or do you think that you would think, hey, that's gonna be okay, we've survived this far, this isn't much of a big surprise? Yeah, I think that I would have a heart attack. And now that Suma and Petra learn each other's names, do you think that something has changed between them? They're not calling each other Zeta anymore. They're calling themselves by name. How do you think that this changes everything? And do you think that now that they're calling each other by name, do you think that it's better for everybody? Or do you think that you like the formal Zeta better? Or do you think that you like names? Definitely names. Now, the toxin is fading into a field, right? And there's just jungle and nothing else. Why do you think there's just a field? Why do you think that they put all the toxin there? And even Petra's like, what am I missing, right? There's no people or ship. There's nothing. And why do you think that there's nobody? Do you think that these questions will be answered in the next book? Do you think that Donna Barbara Higuera is going to make a next book? Why do you think that there's nothing here? Just then, there's a honeybee, right? And it lands on Suma's unicorn horn. And so immediately, Petra tries to shoo the bee away, and then she realizes that it's a bee. When you first read that sentence, what did you just think? Okay, yeah, let's just keep on going, or were you immediately like, that's a bee? How did you respond? Bees are just such a normal part of my life that I just skipped on until Petra realized, oh my god, this is a bee, and then suddenly I thought, wow, this is a bee. Earth. That's what I thought. But at first, I just completely missed the bee. What about you? So, then we see something surprising. The elephant ear leaves are all woven together to make sort of like a shield, like a woven basket. Do you think that that's where the first arrivals are? And how do you imagine their camp to look like? Do you think that their camp is going to look like, one, a camp with teepees, I don't know, fireplaces, and no running water or electricity? Two, a society just like ours, like, modern. Three, some type of really cool, advanced technological city complete with AI and robots and really cool things. Just really cool technology things that everybody dreams of. Like, they're all coming true. What type of society do you think lies, on the other side of that woven basket wall? Now, when the drones, who do you think that they are controlled by? And why do you think that the drones are just totally ignoring the others? The kids. Why isn't that they're just ignoring the kids? Like Petra, Suma, Rubio, and Feathers, and Boxy too. So, another big thing is that the ship blasts away into hyperspace. Were you expecting that move or not? And where do you think that they're going to go next? Do you think that they're going to try to inhabit somewhere else? Or do you think that they're going to try to survive on their own in space? And do you think that's going to work? Think about the pros and cons of that. Well, I think that they could definitely survive because they're growing plants on the ship probably, right? And that's a pretty big thing. So since they're growing plants, they'll have an all vegan diet, which it might not be the best to some people, to some meat-loving people, but still, it's pretty good compared to other things. And maybe they're going to make plant-based meats. Like, they're all over the news these days, and maybe that's what they're going to make. Which, yeah, that's pretty impressive in my opinion. Of course, that's if they're really advanced technology, which they sort of are. This story is set hundreds of years after the current, our time. So by then, I'm pretty sure that they would have mastered plant-based meat. Do you think that they would have mastered plant-based meat or not? But I think that there's also a few cons. There's a few bad points. For example, first of all, maybe the population is going to keep growing, and that's not a lot. There's not a lot of space. Also, nobody really wants to live on a spaceship for their whole life. Plus, when do they run out of fuel? Are they making biofuel or something? I'm not very sure, but I think that they're gonna have to work on that too. And finally, I think that everybody's sort of gonna get tired of the traveling life, and I think that somebody is going to say, we need to settle down. And there's gonna be this huge revolution where everybody's saying, we need to settle down. And then there's gonna be a lot of fighting, maybe some killing, and then there's gonna be a big mess, and let's just say that it's not gonna be pretty. So maybe people are going to get frustrated and revolt. Whatever the case, I think that they need to settle down soon. If so, where do you think they're gonna settle down? I think that they're going to go to another Goldilocks planet, and I think that they're just going to stay there. But do you think that it's going to work out? Do you think that their civilization is going to work as they planned? And that civilization is going to be under the control of the collective. Do you think that the collective will be able to do a good job of governing the people? I mean, of course, we all know that what they're doing is wrong, but right and wrong differs from good job. Like, you could still do a good job on a wrong thing. Like, you could still do a good job on killing people, but that doesn't mean that killing people itself is good. So, how do you think that would feel for Voxy to see his only home, the home that he had lived his entire life, just blast away into hyperspace? And all of his family and his friends and just everything that he's ever known to be home and to be true, just blasting off into space. How would you feel? I would feel a mixture of relief and terror. I'm now in this new world alone, by myself. Well, not by myself, but still, I'm alone. There's no adults to help me. And I might not survive. I might starve to death. And I think that that prospect would be very scary for me. Were you surprised when Suma knew that, her mom was already dead? Or do you think that she already knew what had happened, but, just didn't want to believe it? I think that she just didn't want to believe it. Now, do you think that the first arrivals, their camp, do you think that it's going to be safe from the toxin? Or do you think that everybody is going to be dead by the time that they get there? And if they are dead, what do you think that Petra and the rest of them could do? Well, I'm pretty sure that they will have a lot of supplies and tools and shelter and lots of other things. So I'm pretty sure that they can survive. And by then, they'll probably look at they're probably going to study what the first arrivals did. And with their new supplies and tools, they could probably get more food and build more shelters. And I think that will work out. Probably. But still, it would be really helpful if there were other people. So, do you know that everybody would have survived or not? Where does Sagan remind you of? Yes, there's a lot of different parts of Sagan, but the part that they're hiking through right now, what does it remind you of? It reminds me of the jungles of Hawaii. Hawaii is really green and rainy, and it's really nice. It's a really nice place to go to. Do you think that the connection between Lita and Petra will still be there or not? But it's a spiritual connection. So do you think that because it's a spiritual connection, it still will be there? Do you think that will be there? And do you think that Lita's magic, her storytelling, do you think that Petra can match Lita's skill? And we've already seen a lot of examples of Petra telling stories, but still, do you think that, I think that this last Quintista, and we all know if we've read the book, which you should have, that Petra has this last story, right? Now, about the last story, what did you think about the last story? Do you think that Petra did a better job than Lita? Or do you think that maybe not as good as Lita, but just right? Or have you already forgotten how Lita tells stories? In fact, I think that I've forgotten how Lita tells stories, so yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, it's in the first chapter if you want to check it out. I just wanted to make sure. And now, they're all together, and I think that everybody's sort of realizing, one, the collective is gone. 2, they're going to this new place. They're on a new planet, and they're going home. 3, maybe the collective was wrong. Voxy and Suma already know this, along with Petra, and now Feathers, even she's putting on her Earth clothes, and I'm pretty sure that first of all, those Earth clothes are going to feel familiar to her, and I think that she's going to start to remember. And then she'll realize something. She'll realize, oh, I came from. She begins to imagine all of these things, and then she realizes that it's not her imagination; it's reality. And I think that's gonna be the really awesome thing. So she's gonna remember, and maybe Rubio is going to remember. And yeah, I think that all of them are already remembering a few bits. Maybe they're not telling you, but I think that they're remembering more than they're letting on. Small bits and memories and smells and things like that. Now, Petra starts to tell her story, right? And I could talk about the story, but we've already heard it, so let's just go on, okay? But still, I have a few questions about the story. First, how do you think that Petra did telling the story? 2, do you think that Petra could really become the group's storyteller? 3, do you think that this is making everybody remember more of Earth? And do you think that the ones who still don't remember will at least get a good vision of Earth and how it was like? Okay. So, Suma is now crying, right? And Voxy is crying, and everybody is just really entranced by the story. That's the power of the story. And do you think that these kids, through a lot of stories and through a lot of knowledge from Petra and their own memories, their own fragmented memories, do you think that they can rebuild their life and just imagine their life again? Do you think that they can remember their life again? How do you think that's gonna go? And then Feather says, it reminds me of burnt marshmallows, right? She's thinking of something from Earth, right? When she smells smoke. And what do you think that smoke means? That means fire. Fire that wasn't there before. What do you think about this smoke? Do you think that 1, civilization, people are making fire and everything's gonna be awesome? 2, a giant wildfire is burning everything on stage, and soon it's gonna obliterate it, and that's gonna be the worst ending ever. But that was gonna happen, right? In those 2, what do you think is the most likely option? After everything that Petra has endured, I think that she really deserves a happy ending, and so I'm gonna believe that it's a good type of fire. And then, just then, we realize something. Javier and the toxin. He did something with the toxin, right? He said, if this small part of my journey is to give everyone else a chance, then that is what will make our parents and ancestors proud. I never knew. Did you guess that? Did you guess that somebody else had tinkered with it? And if so, did you guess that it was Javier? Or did you never even imagine or think about that prospect? And now, Petra blinks her eyes, which are full of tears, and she says, this is home, right? And the end ends with some Spanish I can't say, but there's a translation. This is the end of the story for me. The wind carried it off away into the stars. I thought that was a really awesome ending. What did you think of the book? So, some people are going to say, the book was awesome and all, but the only problem is the book was so dreary at some parts. Like, there was mind control and Chancellor Nyla, and just all of these really bad parts and scary parts, like the purging, like when Petra learns that everything, that her whole life, her whole family, except for Javier, who soon gets purged, was purged. And maybe you didn't like those parts. Maybe you didn't like the sort of the dreariness. But what are a few good parts of the book that you can think about? And really, I think that this was a perfect book. This really combined the beauties of life with the tragedies and horrors of life. I really like the sci-fi setting. I really like the ending, and I just like the beginning. I just like every part of this book. It's such a creative novel. It's a creative book that I think that everybody should read once in their lifetime, whether they like it or not. I think that it's just really important. I like it. And yeah, so how did you like the book? On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate the book? And do you think, and how did you like the ending too? Who was your favorite character and your least favorite character? What was your favorite part, your least favorite part? And finally, what was your favorite chapter in the entire book? The beginning, the end, or somewhere in between? And last question, which do you like better? Do you like this? Okay, this cover, or do you like this? I like this better because I like snakes and I think that this is really awesome and creative. This is okay too, but I like this better. And at first, when you saw this, if your version of the book has this, what did you think about this? Because did you immediately realize that it was the fire snake? And when you saw this, which is probably what you saw, what did you think? Like at first, you wouldn't know that this is about a space adventure. Yes, there's pictures of space, there's a few planets, there's stars, there's a moon, but really, you don't really, but there are a lot of strange things in this, but still, a rabbit? This, at first you might not know what this is, and cacti, it might not make sense to you at first. And when you first saw this, and if you never saw this, and maybe just look at this, and think about yourself when you hadn't read this book. What did you make of this title? What did you make of this title? And yes, never judge a book by its cover. That's one thing that I've learned. But still, if you had to judge the book by its cover, how do you think of the book? I think that I would have thought very exciting of the book because this is cool, this is interesting. I now have wanted to read the book. What about you? Now that we finished this book, some people are going to be sobbing. Other people are going to be saying, wow, we're done, yay! Other people are going to be saying, maybe I should be checking out a few books. That's the best attitude. Check out more books. So, what books are we talking about? Well, of course, I can't say every book, but I do have a few book recommendations. Though, if you want to check out the latest books that are coming out, then you should check out my blog on the latest books that are coming out. And also, I made a page all about Rick Riordan and his books. So that's another thing that you can check out. My blog is called New Books for Young Adults, just New Books for YA. Okay, that stands for Young Adults. And it's at Blogger. It's at Blogger, okay? And Blogger is like a Google thing, so, and anybody with a Google account can do it. So, also, if you want, you can check out The Giver, which is a book that I'm currently doing a book club on. I'm actually almost finished, and I'm actually going to talk about the last chapter of The Giver tomorrow. So that's pretty interesting. So if you want to check that book out, you can check that book out. Also, this is one of Newbery Medal. And finally, we are done. So just go out there, read a few more books, and I'm gonna see you next time for some other book club, okay? Bye, and keep reading. Have a great rest of your day, okay? And I'll see you next time.